Hello everybody, welcome to Also Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. The reason I'm wearing these sunglasses is because, hot damn, the Bulls just made another big move. I don't have my basketball. 1 second. I can't believe this is my life. I'm smiling through it all. The Chicago Bulls just did a sign and trade for Demar Derozan, which means the Bulls have now added Demar as well as Lonzo Ball in free agency, which means the Bulls' new starting lineup is going to be Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, Demar Derozan, Patrick Williams, and Nikola Vucevic. Meaning that the Bulls' third best scorer is now either Demar Derozan or Nikola Vucevic. I actually don't think there's that much separation between the two as scorers. I also don't really care. The point just remains that offense is going to be rather potent. So, this is the thing that I talked about briefly at the end of the Lonzo Ball video because of the potential of the move happening. And I was very excited for the potential of the move, but honestly, I was like, I'm not seeing this one happening, even though some of the options for DeMar have bowed out. The Heat and Lakers both would have required him to take just such a low amount of money relative to how good he is. Now, that being said, I think the $28 million a year the Bulls gave him is a little bit of an overpay. Like, I think I would have given him like probably a similar contract to Lonzo. The thing is, Lonzo is not as good as DeMar, but DeMar is older, and his offensive limitation from three kind of hinders some of his impact to the point where his contract value will be less so than his actual player value, just kind of inherently. And I don't think that's really the case with DeMar in this contract. I think 28 is pretty much as good as DeMar is, but I think that's not really, like, I think that's high for what his market was, even if his value was under how good he actually is. I don't know if this makes any fucking sense. The point is, I thought DeMar would be cheaper, and he's not, but I'm still good with it. The Bulls traded Al-Farouq Aminu, who is expiring after this season, who's making $10 million, and Thaddeus Young, who makes $14 million expiring after this year. So this will clear $24 million off of the cap sheet for the San Antonio Spurs. They also get back a future first-round pick. The specifics of that pick, protections, and what year is still not publicly available, at least at the time of the recording of this video. I guess I could quickly check Twitter to see if Woj or really I should check Shams, because once again Shams is just winning the battle between the two, to see what the actual picks are. It's a first and a second. Yeah, it's still not clarified, but it is $85 million over 3 years, fully guaranteed. So I will say, as happy as I am, it is a little like it's not like it's a steal. We'll put it that way. 28 a year, moving a first round pick. That's definitely a commitment to DeMar, and I don't think there were a lot of teams out there that were willing to commit as much as the Bulls did in this scenario. That being said, I think the Spurs got a really good return for DeMar, expiring money and a first-round pick, and then I think the Bulls got back a star-level player, which is always good. So ultimately, the Bulls are going to be pretty damn good next year. If they're not a playoff team next year, then I'm just fucking done, because there's no way the team just isn't cursed by my fanhood if they don't make the playoffs next year. Like, there's no way. There's just no fucking way. It felt like it was a guarantee they'd make it. Not a guarantee. It felt like there was a real chance they'd make it this year, and then they did the Vooch trade. It was like, okay, they're definitely going to make the play-in, and then injury and health and safety with LaVine kind of prevented that. But if they don't make the playoffs next year, you will see my Joker arc where I go actually fucking insane. Anyways, starting lineup now, as I mentioned earlier: Lonzo, Zach, DeMar, Patrick, Vooch. Bench, I didn't talk about this in the Lonzo video because the signing happened pretty much as I was uploading that video. Like, the pinned comment says shout out to Alex Caruso, because the signing literally just happened. That is a big pickup, I think. And a lot of people have been saying he's overpaid. It's like $9 million a year. That's his market value. And he's going to be pretty much filling out the rest of the guard minutes among this team. It's worth mentioning, Kobe White has to be traded at this point because there's just no real spot for him in the rotation. The Bulls, as of now, need some wing depth as well as a backup five. I feel like they did bring back their second round pick from overseas, who is a big, but he's a real offensive minded guy, and I'd rather just get some defensive pieces to come off the bench. There's rumors of the Bulls being interested in Kem Birch, which I think would be a pretty nice addition. I'd be definitely cool with that one. But offensively speaking, depth-wise, I don't know why I made that transition. Depth-wise, Alex Caruso is cool. But after that, there's really not much there at the moment. That being said, Bulls still have Lauri Markkanen's restricted free agency rights, so whatever team wants to sign him, they could potentially get something out of that with a sign and trade. There are still plenty of free agents who are going to be like really, really cheap that can be contributors, like guys who will be signing to essentially veterans minimums. And then there is the ability to trade Kobe White. So I definitely think they can add some depth, at the very least get one more really, really good rotation player. And then you have like a good 7-player deep roster in the Eastern Conference. Absolutely, the Bulls are a playoff team next year. So I made that offensive transition because that's definitely the thing that has to be talked about above all, because offense is going to be their thing. DeMar DeRozan, I think I was watching Funky's video the other day, and he was talking about how the Bulls are not the best at drawing fouls, and I'm actually curious what DeMar DeRozan's free throw per game. I would guess it's at like 7 or 8 free throws a game, but let me pull this up. God damn it, Kenny uploaded this video before me. Yeah, he shoots 7 free throws a game. So, also another thing the Bulls have needed is rim pressure. Shout out to Zay for making a good point about this. When he mentioned this, I was like, I mean, Zach LaVine's a good slasher, but he was like, you need some more guys who can put pressure on the rim and drive to the basket and be a real threat off of the dribble. And DeMar provides that. He provides more ability to get to the line, which he's very efficient from. He shot 88% from the free throw line. So DeMar will be able to provide that. He will be able to provide playmaking, because this year DeMar was amazing as a playmaker. He had already been secretly like a really good playmaker over the last couple of years, especially in San Antonio in particular. But this year he averaged 7 assists per game and was pretty much the foundation playmaking-wise of that Spurs offense while being a 20-point-per-game scorer. So the playmaking of the Bulls has just shot up so drastically with Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan. The one hindrance, of course, with DeMar is going to be the 3-ball. We already knew this, but I think the Bulls starting lineup, Zoe is a good 3-point shooter. I'm going to actually pull up the numbers because sometimes people are like surprised by this. Lonzo Ball has been a good 3-point shooter the last 2 years. He shoots 38% from 3 on 8 attempts per game. That volume on that efficiency, with how many of those are like off of the dribble, that's elite 3-point shooting numbers. Overall, for the last 2 years, 37 on 7 attempts. He's a very good 3-point shooter. Great playmaker. His overall scoring game has gotten better as of last year. Rebounding, he's really good at that. So we have the 3-point shooting from Lonzo. We have the 3-point shooting from Zach. Another elite 3-point shooter that is often not given enough credit for his outside shot, because there's so many people who still stupidly think he's just a fucking dunking player. But he shot 42% on 8 attempts last year. So we have 2 guards right now who shoot 8 threes a game at a very efficient rate. So that's great. So that's 2 lethal shooters. Patrick Williams in his rookie year. Now, I will say his attempts were low, and I'll say his mechanics were not in such a way that it feels like he's a natural shooter. It's a good form, but it's like, this is not a guy who's going to shoot 7 threes a game probably at any point in his career unless there are some adjustments made. But he shot 39% from 3 on 2 attempts per game. And then finally, if we go over to Nikola Vucevic, I don't know what he shot with the Bulls. Okay, he shot 39% on 6 attempts per game. With the Magic, he shot 40% on 6 attempts per game. For the 21-21 season in total, he shot 40% from 3 on 6 attempts over 70 games. So the Bulls shooting is going to be fine, even if DeMar DeRozan is not an outside threat. That being said, also Alex Caruso, 40% from 3 on 2 attempts per game last year. Not the highest volume, and I just don't think he's a great shooter, but he's a decent one. So assuming the Bulls don't, other than a backup big, the rest of the guys they add to the roster are pretty good three-point shooters, or at least capable ones. Spacing's not going to be a problem. Scoring's not going to be a problem. Nikola Vucevic getting a proper fucking entry pass is not going to be a problem, and that was a big annoying thing last year. But a good entry pass for Vucevic will definitely be much appreciated. He's a good playmaker himself. We only got to see 21 games of him, or 26 games of him on the Bulls, but the playmaking from him was very evident. So playmaking increase. The shooting is fantastic. Demar Derozan provides rim pressure, further playmaking, of course, his own mid-range game and scoring ability. We have 3 Bulls players now who are capable of dropping 40 at any given time. Offensively insane. Defense is another question. This is why I really want a defensive backup big, Khem Birch. I really hope that happens, but he might be too expensive with what the amount of cap space the Bulls have left. Although I still think they still have a trade exception from the Daniel Tice move. Although I don't know that that's fully happened yet. But they are supposed to get some sort of trade exception out of that, which I think is supposed to give them some extra cap space. So maybe, but a defensive 5 would be great. And then after that, really just some veteran min contracts to sign some guys for relatively cheap. Unfortunately, I don't know that your defense is going to be improved that much from that. That being said, I think that, DeMar is a passable defender. Zach LaVine is a passable defender. He's actually good on ball. He's just bad off ball. But now he's going to have to defend the best team, or the team's best perimeter player less often, because he's been doing that the last 2-3 years, which has not been the best for him and the best for the Bulls defense. Instead, Lonzo is going to be picking that guy up. Instead of Zach LaVine guarding Steph Curry, it's going to be Lonzo Ball. That's going to make a big fucking difference. And then Patrick Williams was a really good defender in his rookie year, and can look to be a fantastic one this year if he takes the leaps that I know he has the potential of doing. It's not just me and Bulls fans. A lot of people think Patrick Williams has perennial all-defensive talent. Vucevic is a drop big, which sucks. But, in terms of, physical in-the-paint presence, he's not bad at that. He's not getting bodied by anybody except for, Joel Embiid. But who the fuck isn't getting bodied by Joel Embiid? So defensively, I think the Bulls will be okay. Caruso's a really good defensive player. Patrick Williams is a good defensive player. Lonzo Ball is a really, really, really good perimeter defensive player. I think the Bulls will be fine defensively. By fine, I mean they'll probably be the 18th to 21st best defensive team in the league, while probably being a top 10 offense. And that spells out a successful team for sure. Not as good, I don't think they're going to be a contender, but they're going to be good. And I can say as a Bulls fan, just being good would be great. At this point, I'm not even so focused on how do we get to contender level. I'm just how do we get to, I don't hate every minute that I'm watching a Bulls game level. And it's looking as though the Bulls have finally gotten there. And I just have to shout out, I'm going to say his name. I still haven't figured out how to say it properly. I think I might be saying it properly, but I don't know. Artuis Karnisovas, who is the president of basketball operations, as well as, I know it's Everly. What's his first name? Fuck. Oh no, that's gonna bother me. I know his last name is Everly. Let me pull it up. Where is it? Show team info. Not the executive. Show me the general manager. I'm just gonna look it up. Bulls general manager. Mark Evers. It's not Everly, it's Eversley. Mark Eversley. Shout out to him. Shout out to Karnisovas. Very good job for both of them. And it's just so good to see, in contrast, the fact that the Bulls are moving I'm going to make a video about this, so I won't elaborate on it. But just the fact that the Bulls are operating like they are a top franchise market-wise, which they are, is nice and refreshing. And fuck Garpax. That's the video. Goodbye.